I've been killing the self-care game lately, and I don't know what that's about because I normally don't have the best relationship with self-care activities. I normally fall off. I don't feel very connected to them. I don't feel they provide me with the progress and results that is so hyped in on the internet and just like in any self-improvement stuff you kind of listen to. I just feel that I never find something that really sticks with me. And lately, like I said, I feel like I've been doing really well and I've been feeling really good at it. And if I'm being like completely transparent, I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for content. Because a lot of the time, if I would be doing a self-care routine or my morning routine or my night routine, it would definitely be so that I could get some content recorded. And once I would do it for a couple days and record that content, I wouldn't necessarily follow that routine anymore. But now I just feel that I'm doing the self-care for me compared to doing it because I feel like I'm supposed to be doing it and it's the right thing to do. So my point in saying that is not just if you're recording content, because I understand that not everybody does that, but it's just like falling into that should pit that you think I should have a morning routine or I should be doing self-care items or I should be going on a walk for my lunch because I'm supposed to do that, not because you genuinely, truly have this desire to do it or because it genuinely fills you up once you do. It's kind of interesting too, because I've been in this weird mental space lately. I know that I talked to you guys about like I had like a little bit of like a low moment a couple weeks ago, and then I came out of it and I felt good. And now I'm in this like weird space of like I feel good and I feel in control while simultaneously feeling this lack of control over my entire life, like feeling afraid of doing the wrong thing and afraid of my life not having meaning and afraid I'm not taking enough action in my life. And I just have a lot of these intrusive thoughts that I'm not doing enough, which if you've been here for a little while, as we know, is nothing new for me. But they've just been a little bit stronger lately. And I've been really leaning into self-care in order to keep myself afloat. And like I said, I'm allowing myself to experience both emotions simultaneously. You know, I'm not allowing the intrusive, overactive thoughts of not enoughness to pull me down into this pit like I normally would, where now I feel because I'm really leaning into the basics and I'm leaning into making sure that I'm okay physically and mentally, I can have these annoying fucking feelings and be like irritated that I'm having them, but and still be having them, but at the same time feel in control and feel like I'm okay and feel like I'm still showing up as my best self to the level that I can each given day, each given moment of that day. So I wanted to talk about why we struggle with self-care so much, why it's something that we feel we work so hard at, try so hard to do, but always find ourselves falling back on the track of nothingness. I feel a lot of the time I will blame myself and call myself lazy because I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not doing it, when that's not actually laziness. It's just burnout, or it's just lack of connection with what I'm doing, or it's just straight up the thing that I'm doing isn't working for me anymore. It doesn't fulfill me, and that's all okay. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. But why does that happen? And it's so hard because we feel, like I was saying before, that we should be doing these things, or that the people that they have got it all together, or they have it all, are doing this self-care stuff all the time. And that's obviously why they're so pretty or so rich or have such a full life. So obviously I am doing something wrong and I have to figure out how to do it. So if you're someone like myself who struggles a lot with self-care, why? Why do we struggle with self-care so much? The first big thing that I've really come to understand about this is you haven't found something that clicks and sticks with you. It's really important to continue to try new things consistently until you find something that you really actually resonate with. There's so many things out there that you can do for self-care that's suggested, like a coloring book or a bubble bath or connecting with a friend. But those are only surface level, not surface level, but like those are only a very few common examples of what self-care looks like. And I don't think, at least I wasn't as much aware of this as I wish that I had been or as I should have been, is that self-care can literally be fucking anything. Like, it is up to you to decide what self-care is. And if self-care for you is going home and smoking a fat blunt and watching Sex and the City, cool. Like, good for you. As long as you're not doing anything that's harmful to you, as long as you're not doing anything that, is detrimental to yourself long term or to your relationships or whatever. I don't have to explain this to you. You know what I'm talking about. You know when you start to tip over an edge that it's not self-care anymore. But my point is these things that we don't, think about, we don't hear about, aren't in our repertoire of what is considered self-care. I downloaded a daily planner situation, and it had a self-care checklist, and it had a shit ton of things on this checklist of how have you taken care of yourself today? And there were the obvious things like, eating healthy, drinking water, making your bed, keeping your space clean, doing your laundry. But there was also watching a movie on there. And I thought that was really interesting because I work my 9-to-5 job remote, and my coworker and I like to watch movies while we work. And a lot of the time, if I am sitting there watching a movie all day long, and I'm just sitting in my chair, which, by the way, to combat this, I just bought a walking pad and I'm now watching movies while I walk, which makes me feel less like this. But if I sit there all day long, I feel guilty. I feel like I'm a blob loser doing nothing with myself, and that I'm basically going to amount to nothing because I'm not doing anything to better myself or propel myself farther into what I should be doing with my life. It kind of falls back into those thoughts that I was talking to you guys about at the beginning that I personally have, just about feeling like I should be doing more. Not saying everybody feels that way. God, I hope you fucking don't. And I hope it's a me thing. But that I start leaning into where my mental issues go. Your mental issues might take you to a different place if you have the specific stigmas around what you're labeling as self-care. I did not consider watching a movie as self-care, and I thought of it as lazy and unproductive and blobbish, where this list validated me in the sense that that can be considered self-care if I want it to be considered self-care. Again, just like what I was saying about the blunt and the Sex and the City, is that maybe if you, lean too far into that, it's all you ever do. You're not productive. You're never exercising. You're never doing anything with yourself. All you're doing is laying around all day and watch movies. Then that's where, you start to get into bad territory. I don't want to use the word bad, but you know what I'm saying? Anything in excess isn't good. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in moderation, of course, but the bottom line is anything you want can be self-care. So with that in mind, you have to keep trying things until you find what clicks and sticks with you. And it might not be the aesthetic things that you see on the internet, or it might not be the thing that your best friend does, or that you grew up knowing, or that your boyfriend does, your girlfriend does, your sister, mom, dad, brother, whatever. Just because people close to you do something and it works for them doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work for you. The other thing too is that just because it doesn't click and stick for you now doesn't mean that it never will. though. Like you can always come back and try other things, and there might be different times in your life that things work better now than they did before. And, sometimes things that worked really well for you will go away eventually. Like right now, I've been on like a keeping my house clean streak, and that's kind of a part of my self-care. Your girl is not good at keeping her house clean. It's like a fucking shit show over here, right? I literally am the type of person that leaves all the lights on. I open a cabinet and leave it fucking open. We have a joke in my house that my boyfriend is the one living with the frat boy, and I'm like, it's the opposite gender roles out here. I don't know why I'm that way. Actually, yes, I do, mommy. I'm blaming you for never giving me chores. Not blaming you in a bad way, because, I loved that shit, but I don't know. Now I have to teach myself basically how to do all of the things that maybe I should have always been doing, but that's, a moot point. Besides the point, it's over and done. I know what I got to fix. But my point is that I have been using cleaning as self-care. And with all of that said about literally my childhood and all the stuff, being clean has never been a thing that I've enjoyed or has never been something I've been very good at. But now lately, since I've been leaning into self-care activities a little bit more and have been connecting with them more, I've been connecting with cleaning, and I've been able to keep my house clean for literally this entire week. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but truthfully, it is for me. Like, I don't know how. I've made my bed every day. I've been putting my laundry every day. I've been doing my laundry. I've been doing the cat box every day. I've been keeping my kitchen clean, doing the dishes. I've been vacuuming regularly, like all of the things, bro, all of the things. And it's just because it's clicking with me. It's sticking with me. It's working for me right now. And that doesn't mean that I'm never going to get messy again. That's kind of inevitable. I know that that's going to happen eventually, but I'm working with what's working for me currently. Another thing right now that's really working for me is I wake up, I got the 5-minute journal, so I write in that. I make my bed, I brush my teeth, take my vitamins, I meditate for 10 minutes, I go to the gym, and then I come home, I wash my face, maybe probably body shower, and start work. And it's really been nice for me. Like, I don't know why. Again, I'm not doing it for any reason except that it feels good when I do it. My day feels organized. My morning feels organized. I feel fulfilled when I'm doing it, when I'm done doing it. And I don't expect it to last for the rest of my life, that I'm going to be doing this exact routine. I expect for it to change as I change and my feelings change, my motivation levels change, and my circumstances change. But right now, I love it. I love it. It's working for me. And so I'm really leaning into what's clicking and sticking for me currently. And eventually, something else, I trust that something else will click and stick for me in the future. Another reason you might be struggling with self-care so much is because you're expecting a one-time solution. I wanted this so bad. I expected this so bad. I still definitely find myself leaning into feeling like I'm going to receive a one-time solution. Like I'm going to come up with some sort of habit pattern, or I'm going to find something, like I was saying before, that clicks and sticks, and that's what's going to be forever. I want that still, even though I can fully understand and know that it's not going to be a one-time solution. I want that so bad. Like right now, I was just telling you about my morning routine and shit. Like I would love to do that forever and for it to always fulfill me. But I know that it's just impossible that it will stick forever. I'm going to do it as much as I can, but I'm not going to push myself to do something that I don't feel like doing, that I don't want to do, that's not fulfilling me, even if it's just for like one day because I'm feeling a little lower, I'm feeling physically sick, or whatever my reason is, or, it's just not clicking and sticking with me anymore, like we were talking about before. But I want that. I want it to be a one-time solution. I want something to just click in my mind and it works, but that's just not the truth. And you're always going to have to find new things that work for you. I think so much of the time we hear things that really work for us, or we go through a period of time, like right now, in the example I was just giving you about myself, that we really enjoy what we're doing. And so we think, this is it. This is what I'm going to do every single day until I die. And it's just a fact that you're not going to vibe with the same things forever. If you think about you in the past, like what would high school you do? Like, let's not think about like routines and self-care. Like, let's take self-care out of it for a second. And you just think in general of how high school you perceived the world, how that person thought, how that person felt. How about when you're in your 20s? How about when you're in your 30s, 40s, whatever age bracket you're in? Think about back 10 years and 10 years and 10 years prior. You can see this like huge difference in your mentality, what you were doing with your life, just like literally your circumstances and what your day-to-day schedule looked like, your feelings. And you should know too, if you take a step back and just like think about your emotions and your energy levels just in a week span, a month span, how different every day could be. So it's kind of asinine that we expect of ourselves to always be this godlike best version that we picture in our heads, because we know that's what we're capable of. But it's proven just by looking at, where we were in our life before and how we thought about life, that it's always going to change. We're always going to look at things differently, see things differently, experience things differently, and just be living a different life. That it's crazy to expect ourselves to have this one-time solution. You're not going to be able to pick one thing and expect it to work for the rest of your life. You have to surrender those feelings and forgive yourself for needing change and inviting that change in, and not being so resistant to the change because you think, shit, I can feel myself already caving on this routine that I've been doing for a week. And I do this every time. I'm such a failure. Why can't I stick to self-care? Why do I struggle with self-care so hard? I don't understand why this always happens to me. I just want to be a self-care person. I just want to feel good. And I can't stick to anything. And that's okay. Some people can stick to things for fucking forever. And some people can't. Some people fluctuate. Stop comparing yourself to what other people do with their life and just figure out what works for you. In what capacity can you care for yourself? And you don't have to expect it to be this forever type of thing. It's exciting that you always get the opportunity to try new things to care for yourself. There are so many ways to do so, like we were talking about at the beginning, that you can invite so many different options for yourself in what makes you feel fulfilled and good. You can go back to old things. You can try new things. You can only do things one time and decide it doesn't work for you. Don't pressure yourself and burn yourself out by trying so hard to stick to one thing because this was supposed to be the thing that fulfilled me and it did for a little while. Why isn't it working for me anymore? And instead of being so hard on yourself and mean to yourself for it, allowing that to be let go so that you can invite the new thing in and try something else. Allow it. Just let go a little bit. Stop white knuckling whatever you're doing now. You'll feel okay, and you'll always feel like you have that self-care. You won't be putting a bad feeling on top of your self-care activities. I really feel we struggle with self-care because we're not giving credit to the learning curve. And this is something that registered with me not that long ago. I work until 6:30 at night. And my boyfriend works until like 9 o'clock at night. We both work remote. And when I'm off, a lot of the time I will continue to sit in my desk and just scroll, or I'll work on stuff for the podcast, or I take my Coursera class, whatever it is I'm doing, I'm still sitting at my desk like I have been since 10 a.m. that morning. And I'm not thinking and judge me if you will, this might sound codependent and fucked up, but I'm not thinking to move because my boyfriend isn't moving. We're not like going and doing something together, or even going to sit on the couch and watch TV together. And this is how it was for a while. And a couple months ago, I just got up and started doing stuff after work, just to like get up from my desk. Like I would come upstairs, I created my Zen room. That's where we're sitting right now. It's where I record my podcast. And I did some yoga. I brought a paint by number up here the other day, and I was just sitting on the floor doing a paint by number. I'll watch Sex and the City. I'll call a friend, or I'll call my mom. I'll go for a walk. Maybe I will go to Target or to Ulta. And it's like I am enjoying my night. And my point in telling you this is not only because all of those things are self-care, but also, which I actually didn't even realize until I was just saying it out loud. I was just telling you that that's the stuff that I do. All of those things are self-care, but also that it took me some time to kind of figure that out. And I'm now learning how to enjoy my nights a little bit more and put more intention into after work. I always thought because I was off at 6:30, which I was like, this is so late, that my day is over and I'm basically just going to like eat dinner, watch something and go to sleep and try again tomorrow, which makes my days start to feel robotic, like day after day, hamster wheel situation. When I'm in control of, making sure that I'm enjoying my day and doing something with my evenings. I have to, get up and do those things. And what I was doing before isn't bad. That was self-care in itself too. I was taking the courses. I was working on my project, the podcast. I was, doing whatever it was I was doing, even if it was just watching TV. I would consider that self-care as well. Again, as long as it's not in excess. But I'm still sitting in that same spot. And I just feel that, look at this learning curve that's happening for me. You could argue that the two things that I said before also apply here. Before sitting in my desk doing whatever and waiting for my boyfriend was clicking and sticking with me until it wasn't, until I was like, what am I doing? Like feel like I should be getting up and doing something and enjoying my evening a little bit more, and then leaning into that, which was clicking and sticking with me more and making me feel more fulfilled. And then also not expecting that, that would be, not that I did expect this, but that, doing my podcast and doing the Coursera and whatever after work is going to be my one-time solution for self-care after work forever, that I'm allowing other things to make me feel good. But for this, it really ties both of those things together, that there is this learning curve, and there always will be this learning curve, that you're always going to be learning what makes you feel good and what makes you feel fulfilled. And you're going to learn about yourself and understand yourself more and understand what you like and what you don't like. And it's all kind of a part of getting to know you a little bit better. And if you want to take it even a little bit deeper, you'll learn specifics. Like I know that 10 minutes of meditation makes me feel good. But I also know that if I sit there for a really long time, or like, let's talk about yoga. Like I know that yoga always makes me feel really good. But if I commit to 45-minute yoga sessions every single day, and then I'm like, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, it'll burn me out and I won't stick to it. I being able to just throw on, a 10-minute relaxation yoga when I have lower energy, and the times that I inevitably will have higher energy doing those, more rigorous yoga sessions, or a longer meditation, or sit and do a paint by number and commit to a certain amount of numbers, instead just like painting till I fucking feel like it and not putting pressure on myself to reach a certain destination or goal, then I'm allowed to enjoy that. But that was all a learning curve. I learned that. I did give myself a certain goal for amount of numbers that I had to hit on my paint by number. I did do weeks of 45-minute yoga sessions and did it even when I didn't fucking want to, because I thought that meant discipline. And I was getting somewhere by disciplining myself to do it for 45 minutes until I burnt out, or that every week I had to add 5 minutes onto my meditation, and it was like getting so long to the point that it was not reasonable for me to add that into my day anymore. And then you quit anyways. You read too much, you quit anyways. You whatever, like I said before, anything you do in excess, it doesn't benefit you, and it doesn't benefit you if you're not taking a moment to observe the learning curve. If you're not learning what you like and what you don't like and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, you're going to struggle with the self-care. You have to allow yourself to learn about yourself. You have to allow yourself to learn what makes you feel like you're caring for yourself, and then apply those things and know that there will always be a learning curve. You're going to have new ideas and better ideas. Again, if you want to think back to yourself, the 10 years, or 5 years, whatever, even fucking a year ago, if you think about how you were doing things, I could think of things from last week that I was doing that I've been like, oh, wow, I've reinvented this idea. I've got a better idea on how I can add to this, how I could make this better for myself. And then I apply that thing, and I don't ever do the thing that doesn't make as much sense to me now that I've had this better idea anymore. You're always going to be on a learning curve. That's kind of like, you think of like old people and how they're wise as fuck. It's because they're always on a learning curve. You know what I mean? They've reached this level of being wise because they've experienced so much compared to younger people. So allow that learning curve to happen for you, and you will stop struggling so much with your self-care. At the end of the day, you really just have to not be so hyper on the shoulds. If you struggle with self-care and you take these 3 things into consideration, if you really break them down to its like very core root, a lot of the time it's because you're not doing things for you because they feel good. You're doing things because you think it's what you're supposed to do. You think that, it'll lead you to a certain destination. It comes back to that should feeling. And if you allow yourself to experience the self-care and allow the self-care to ebb and flow, you're more likely to not only be successful in the self-care, but allow it to care for yourself. Stop putting so much pressure on yourself to like be good and successful at it, because what does that even mean? Like, I know I just said like be successful at self-care, but like truthfully, like what does that mean? Let's ask that question. Being successful at self-care is being fulfilled by it, being consistent with it, taking care of yourself mentally and physically. And at the end of the day, if you are physically and mentally well as a result of the things that you do to care for yourself, you're successful at it. And there's no right or wrong way to get to that destination or to get that result. It's going to be whatever works for you as an individual. If you think, and follow me for a moment, this might be like a little bit of like a weird, deep thought, but if you can vibe with it, great. If you can't, sorry. But if you think about people, right? You think about each individual human body, physical human body. We all look very similar. We all have arms, 2 legs, a torso, 2 eyes, nose, mouth, hair, head on top, shoulders, whatever, fingernails. Everybody has like, generally we all look the same, but obviously we all look so fucking different. Obviously, like we've got, different races, different weights, different genders, all those things obviously make us look so different. But also, if you take people that look similar in those categories and other categories, even they look different. Even people of the same genetics, you line up me, my mom, my sister, my aunt, my grandma, we all look different. We all have different looks to us. And I think it's funny that we understand and can comprehend that we all look different on the outside, but we don't expect that our brains would all also operate different. Now, maybe that sounds kind of like weird and it's not the same, but I can't help but think like, why, if we all are a little bit different, why our brains wouldn't be the same? Why our brains wouldn't all be just a little bit different from one another? So what works for my brain might not work for your brain. And what works for your brain might not work for your brother's brain or your friend's brain or your favorite influencer's brain. That's routine you're trying to copy into your own life. It might not stick with you. You have to not put so many eggs in one basket that this is what self-care means and this is what it means to be good at self-care and this is what will get me the results in my life that I want. And I'm going to be so resistant to making to any other option so that I can make sure that this picture that I have in my head comes true. And instead, just allowing yourself to experience self-care in whatever way works for you, and that being okay and that being good enough and that being the right answer to self-care. It's all going to come in time. You'll find what works for you. It'll eventually click and stick for you. Just keep looking and enjoy that process of looking, and you will not struggle so hard at self-care eventually. I absolutely promise you it will ebb and flow and you will be okay and you will get the result that you want as long as you continue to show up as the best version of yourself every single day and know that that best version of you will change every single day. Thanks for listening. Appreciate your time and your energy and your devotion to you caring for yourself because it really is important and it really does feel good. So I appreciate that you are really trying to, get better at it and hone in on it and are owning that you're having a hard time because, that's hard too. A lot of the time we want to, be good at something and we're just going to keep trying and not admit that we're kind of struggling. So good for you for trying to figure it out. And we got this. We're going to figure it out. Everything's going to be okay because everything is always okay. You can follow me personally on Instagram and TikTok at Sarah Rittendale for both. There's just a dot in between my first and last name on Instagram. And then you can also follow the show on Instagram. That's at Wellish Podcast. Any information that you want, if you have any questions or stories that you would like my advice, I have no professional opinion, no credentials to give you advice, but I love to give advice, obviously. So if you want my advice on whatever you're struggling with, whatever your challenges are, submit those on wellishpodcast.wordpress.com. I hope this helped get your week started on a good note, get you feeling good about yourself, get you feeling like you are capable of doing the self-care that you need to this week. And I will talk to you guys next Monday. Bye, guys.